Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko mai tairangi te maunga, ko kairangi te awa, no te whanganui a tāra hou, ko Godney tōku whānau, ko Maylene tōku ingoa. Aloha, kia ora ana, bola, talofa, maloni, whakalahi atu, and warm Pacific greetings to you all on this not so tropical day here in Ōtepoti, Dunedin, or as I know it, Scarfy City, as I'm a former Scarfy of about 13, 15 years ago now, so I'm feeling a little bit old, but all good. I'm Maylene Godney, and I lead many of our public engagement programs, and I'm delighted to be here today as the start of the Creative Impact Lab, especially today for the artist talk, which is awesome. It's great to be here, as I remember talking to Leonardo about this program. It was about over a year ago now, so it's great to be here in 2023 with the program kicking off, which is awesome. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the team at Leonardo, Tūhura Otago Museum, and of course the talented Tiare Ribeau from the US, Hawaii, our awesome filmmaker and creative. So thank you for coming all the way from Hawaii. We know it's a long journey, but we hope you do enjoy it here and get to meet some awesome people and connect and do your thing. The Creative Impact Lab is a fantastic project that ties in with two of our US government and also our US ambassador priorities. So number one is climate change. We're really committed to combating the effects of climate change and working in partnership with like-minded individuals to achieve this goal. And then the second one is really our Indigenous ties. So something that we're really working on at the embassy is doing more to connect our Native Hawaiian, Native Alaskan, Native American communities in the US with also our Indigenous communities here in New Zealand, whether that is coming together to share knowledge, share some of our stories, the successes, the challenges. As you know, there are many challenges that we have that are similar, but also differences, and really just kind of be together and learn from each other as well, which is fantastic. But yeah, I'm just going to keep this really short because it's not about me, and Tiare is amazing. But yeah, just thank you for being here. We really do appreciate you taking your Saturday to be here. We know there's lots going on at the moment with holidays going on. I also know that graduation is going on as well. I found out today that one of my friends is graduating, which is awesome. So I've got to catch up with her after. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed today. And yeah, thank you.
All right, I hope I'm coming through loud and clear on that end. Thank you to Gerard and to Maylene for starting us off. I'm so sorry I'm not able to be there with you all in person. I'm nearby and hopefully going to join the workshop participants soon, but I'm battling a bout of ill-timed COVID at the moment. Regardless, I'm happy to be here to share some welcome comments and provide some context for today and for the exchange that begins today. Kia ora, everyone. My name is Shamsher Verk. I'm the Senior Director for Programs and Operations at Leonardo, also known as the International Society for Art, Sciences, and Technology. We've been around since 1968 and have been forging a global network of research and practice at the nexus of art, science, and technology. We serve as a network of transdisciplinary scholars, artists, scientists, technologies, thinkers who are all experimenting with cutting-edge tools and approaches to tackle the most complex challenges facing humanity today, such as climate change in this case, and also reconciliation and empowerment of Indigenous community. We are based in two places in the United States. We're based in Oakland, California, in the San Francisco Bay Area, on unceded Ohlone First Nations land, and also in Phoenix, Arizona, where we work in partnership with Arizona State University. They're specifically working on educational innovation around digital art and media. And Arizona's campuses are located in the Salt River Valley on ancestral territories of 23 different Indigenous peoples, including the Akimel O'odham and Peeposh Indian communities, whose care and keeping of these lands also allows us to be there today. And while those are our two locations in physical space, we really are a global network. Our team is distributed across the US and the UK and internationally. I'm so excited to be bringing Dunedin, Ōtepoti into the fold as yet another node in our network. So our programming really reaches across creativity, connection, and collaboration, all of it trying to bring people together to make new things and to learn how to work together in new ways. We have a publications program where we've been producing for many years with MIT Press, the journal Leonardo, which may be the thing, if you know us, you likely know us through that scholarly journal. We also produce fellowship programming, training and education, research scholarship, creative enterprise, and exchange, such as this. So Creative Impact Lab Ōtepoti Dunedin is the second cultural exchange we're co-producing with Tūhura Otago Museum to address climate change through a combination of art, science, and technology with a lens of culture. The first exchange we produced was actually through a partner, which we absorbed at Leonardo, named 01. That was in 2016 through the American Arts Incubator Program, supported by the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs at the U.S. Department of State. And this year we returned with the support of the U.S. Embassy in Wellington. I want to emphasize that we still have spaces available for participants to join the workshops. They begin tomorrow and run through next Saturday, followed by prototyping towards an exhibition opportunity here at the museum in February, early February of 2024. You can apply. There may be some QR codes in the room, which you can scan. And if you don't find one of those, you can visit otagomuseum.nz and click Learn in the menu, and then you'll see a link to the Creative Impact Lab. Big thanks to Maylene Godinay and the Public Affairs team at the Embassy for their faith in transdisciplinary collaboration as a pathway towards mutual understanding. And a huge wave of gratitude to the team at Tūhura Otago Museum, who've made this exchange a reality. We have very held and supported throughout the planning process, and certainly upon arrival, feeling very warmly welcomed. All right, well, with that, it's my pleasure to introduce this year's lead artist for Creative Impact Lab Ōtepoti Dunedin, Tiare Ribeau. Tiare is a Kanaka Maoli filmmaker, artist, creative producer based in Honolulu, Hawaii. Their work involves a magical realist exploration of spirituality, labor, and the natural environment, which you'll get a good sample of in a moment, drawing upon the structure of dream worlds and Hawaiian cosmology to critique both social and ecological imbalances. Their films use visual narrative storytelling and components of speculative fiction and fantasy to reimagine both present realities and future trajectories of lineage, queerness, place, and belonging. Their work often combines with installation elements to create immersive and expanded media experiences. As a curator and producer, they founded Babe Lab Gallery in 2014 as a platform and community space to prioritize underrepresented and queer artists in media arts. That's in Oakland, not far from our Leonardo's headquarters. They were artistic director there for 8 years. They also co-founded Refresh, Art, Science, and Technology in 2017, curated the Soundwave Biennial in San Francisco in 2016, and were artistic director for the Kodame Festival in 2015. I've had the pleasure of working with Tiare several times over the years. It's always been a joy, and I'm just thrilled to be here again, welcoming you to the stage, Tiare. Please take it away.
Aloha nui kākou. I'm going to share my screen really quick so we can get that going. There we go. Okay. Aloha nui kākou. Mahalo piha ia o ko no ka ho'okipana I ia'u kia hale ho'oikeike o Tiare Ribeau ko uinoa. No Hawaii mai au he mea hana ki'ionioni o wau. It is a great honor to be here at Tūhura and to be so warmly welcomed by you folks both yesterday and today. Just wanted to first express my gratitude for welcoming me on this journey to connect our lands across Moana Nui Akea, also for the U.S. Embassy to support this kind of project. Again, the interdisciplinary exchange of ideas, of cultures, of language, of art. Yeah, just feeling truly blessed from this journey. I was part of the American Arts Incubator exchange that this program grew out of in 2018. I went to the Ukraine, to Kiev, and that was a really beautiful experience. It was a similar workshop with participants who were collaboratively making projects that resulted in an exhibition at the end of that exchange. So similarly with this workshop series, there will be an exhibition that comes out of all of your projects that you collaborate on at the beautiful Science Gallery in February. So super exciting. I am going to start with Hemela Kane. And yeah. If you would like to follow along, we'll see how much I get. I might have to look at it, but I'm going to, yeah. He ui, he ni nau, he uiakwana au ya oi ai hea kawaya kane. Ai I kahikina akala, puka I hae hae, ai I laila kawaya kane. E uiakwana au ya oi ai hea kawaya kane. Ai I kalana kala. I ka pai o pua o ke kai. E mai ana o Nihoa. He mole mai ana o Lehua. Ai I laila ka wai a kane. E ui aku ana au ia oi ai hea ka wai a kane. I ke kua hiwi, I ke kua lono, I ke āwawa, I ke kahawai. Ai I laila ka wai a kane. E ui aku ana au ia oi ai hea ka wai a kane. I ke kai, I ka moana, I ke kua lau, I ke ā nui nui. I ke ua, I ke pūnohu, ke ua koko, ke ā lava lava, ai I laila ka wai a kane. E ui aku ana au ia oi, ai hea ka wai a kane. Ai I luna ka wai a kane. Ai au o uli, ke au ele ele, ke au pano pano, I ke au papa, popola lehua, popola hua, mea a kane, la e, ai I laila ka wai a kane. E ui aku ana au ia oi, ai hea ka wai a kane. Ai I lalo, I ka honua, I ka vai hu, I ka vai kau a kane me kana loa, I ka vai puna, e ka vai inu, e ka vai ola, e ka vai mana. E ola no, yeah. So I said that one. So I wanted to start with Hemela no Kane. And thank you for listening. This is my first time I've done it out loud. Because it mentions all the forms of water that Kane inhabits, really. And if you've seen some similarities, it's similar to Tane. One of the first creation stories I heard here when I first, excuse me, Aotearoa in March was how Tane, through his interactions through their interactions with different forms of water in the soil and the mist, really created all life on land. And all those different forms of growth that you see in the forest, for instance, are versions of Tane. And for us as well, again, to kind of draw parallels, Kane is all forms of water, from the rivers to the moana, to the hai, the kuahiwi, the kualono, the mountaintops, to the kahawai, to the rivers, to all the different forms of mists. And I start with that because my work is really inspired by these just water itself and all of the life it gives, the life-giving properties of water on the Aina and Whenua. And it's where we're from. It's what keeps us alive. It's also the main thread that connects throughout my work. And again, it connects us as people across Moana Nui Akea. And especially as stewards and Indigenous peoples of our lands, both Maoli and Maori. I just believe it's an important place to start. And why Olelo Hawaii? I believe our leo is important, our olelo, our korero. Again, it's when we first landed on our lands, on these shores, it's how we first recognized these forms of life. It's how we first spoke to them. It's how we first named them. Not to mention it was illegal for 100 years to teach Olelo Hawaii in schools. So around the time I was born, it was finally able to be taught again in institutions. So I think it's important to speak to Leo, to Olelo as much as possible. I'm still in my process of relearning. Also the Leo, these kinds of oli, these chants, this was our scientific method, right? Was to kilo, to observe the natural world. And record through our oli, our chants, what we saw, and the interactions, the hydrological cycles, all of those elemental cycles that we had a very deep and profound understanding of and relationship with. So again, we have thousands of chants. There's over 1,000 of just Pele chants. Pele is our volcano. She represents the magma out of Kilauea. And again, we have oli about water. We could recognize all these forms and their interactions. And to me, through Leo, through oli, this was knowledge that was passed down. And one of our oldest forms of technology, and still, I would argue, one of the most advanced, if you think about the observations among hundreds and hundreds of generations, over almost 1,000 years, that's a lot of knowledge that is combined and layered in those chants. And chants are still being created. But we also have very old chants, such as the Kumulipo, which pre-Darwin had already recognized the beginning of time, so the darkness, the slime, which was cyanobacteria, so to speak, and then from all of that emerging, all life emerging from the ocean and from the coral, coming onto land as plants and then as animals. So again, our kupuna was smart, yeah? So yeah, I wanted to share some work that I've done that kind of address these, these themes that I'm talking about. So Ulukupu is a film that I worked on 2 years ago, collaboratively, that actually came out of a really short workshop series in Hawaii. So I'm just gonna play it and then we can talk about it a little bit. Cool, so ulu and kupu kind of both mean to grow, to germinate, to expand. And that project was really cool because it really brought together artists from a lot of different disciplines. So Vaikapu created the masks that you see that are worn out of different botanical arrangements, which he had to make like the morning of. So he didn't sleep. He was just like, I was up all night putting these together. One is with the avapuhi, like the ginger flowers. So really delicate. So he had to make it that morning. And the other is with the makali'i fern. And this project was really kind of exploring, again, our connection to water, the kind of like the deities that are unseen, kind of giving them, kind of visualizing them, or in a way that is translatable. I actually do a shortened version of Hemela no Kane that's spoken over this. And then there were two textile artists who collaborated on this. So you saw some like kapa. Nanea Lam is a kapa maker. So we kind of just also documented her process of actually using ulu bark to make kapa. In Hawaii, we use vauke. I know you guys use different kind, harakeke over here. And then Kaliko Punuheo Kalani is a dancer who I've collaborated with. You'll see them in a couple more films of mine. So their expression and embodiment of the labor hula of kind of picking materials from aina to create textiles. And then Lisa is a hala weaver. So it was kind of weaving together those that kind of labor hula, that gathering of materials into a dance and into a yeah, kind of like a visual narrative piece. So there's no real dialogue. A lot of my work, I would say, is yeah, visual interpretations and documentation of culture that's told more in a nonlinear format, and can allow people to insert themselves wherever they see is parallels with or but yeah, I am of the method of kind of like a to me, it's like a experimental / decolonial approach to film, in that it doesn't always need the 3-act structure. It doesn't always need like the, you know, the kind of like cheesy dialogue to explain what's going on. I believe the viewer is smart. They can pick up patterns. And also I like adding a layer of kauna into the films, which means kind of like the hidden layer that kind of like, if you know, you know kind, or if you have pilina or connection to what you are seeing, then it resonates differently. Yeah. So that kind of is another thread throughout my films. The next film I'm going to show is called Po'elewai, and that means kind of as the water becomes dark. And this film was really, this came after Ulukupu, and we had the same collaborators work on it. As in Ulukupu, we're kind of celebrating the health of the water, the life-giving properties of water and aina and that interaction. Shortly after we made that film, there were major leaks of fuel into our watersheds from the Red Hill bulk fuel storage facility. And that was really painful for all of us. And as it poisoned some folks, they were sent to the hospital, and it's just, yeah, for me as an artist, my way of kind of translating that pain and moving through that trauma towards healing was to make a film about it, to kind of, one, to note that it's happening. It's kind of like this monster that hides under the surface. Also thinking of fuel as something, you know, it's extracted. It's almost like our ancestor. If you think of like the millions of years of life that is underground and then like woken up, so to speak, and brought to the surface to be used as petroleum. You know, this interaction of the petroleum and water is we aren't meant to imbibe it. So what are the ways that we can think about cleaning, about the health of our land and waters, and then our interconnectedness to land, to the water? What happens when the land and the water become sick? So do we. So this film really follows a weaver kind of on their daily routine. It's exploring a little bit of the mundane, but they're slowly realizing they have this rash, and where the source of that is coming from. So I'll show a version of this during the workshops. How many of you folks in the workshop? Awesome. Yay. Okay, we're gonna hang out for the week. Love it. So yeah, I'm gonna show a short clip now. And it's the end of the film, but it's not a spoiler because, again, my films are nonlinear. So it's kind of like, again, talking about cycles. And I wanted to show it now because there's also a version of a chant that was written for the film that, as you'll hear, is very similar to Hemela no Kane. Whoa. Okay, saw the end of that one. Hold on, let me try get back to the. There we go. Okay. All right. So yeah. So water is in a lot of my films. And this one, similarly to Ulukupu, it required, to me, I love film and moving image and video as a medium because it really encompasses so many different artistic disciplines. So storytelling, obviously, visual language, costume, music. For this film, Ali Mitchell, who's Kumuhula, wrote the Oli, and then Jason Chu wrote that song at the end. I did the costume. Reese Kochi did the beautiful Limule. So really, it takes a village to make a film. And I actually come from a quite a multidisciplinary background. I started in fashion originally, and then moved through, I guess, textile arts, digital arts, which I'll show some works of later in this presentation, all kinds of things. So it really, to me, is the most fun. And I will encourage video work as we have 12 or 16 projectors in the beautiful science galleries in which to show work in February. So, but again, video can look a lot of different ways. It can be edited in a really fun experimental way. It could be a static shot, could be whatever you want. So for me, it was, there's actually some really fast cuts that you'll see when I rescreen this film. So this film I showed as a single channel video installation in a couple different formats. This is one that's kind of cool because I also included film artifacts. So the black latex that was used to represent the oil, the petroleum, I put on display as sculptural objects. And these I made for the film as well. Just poured out the liquid latex into sheets and then kind of scrunched them up to make them look gnarly. And this is, I showed this slide because also I pulled short excerpts from Ulukupu into the film as kind of like dream sequence moments or waking visions that the protagonist had. So remixing old videos into this one to kind of, again, have a lineage of work. And then again, I think what comes up for me sometimes is translation and what do we translate of our language. And so for me, I didn't translate Aina or Po, and people can contextually pull meaning from that. And I think we have a shared understanding of Po. But I prefer kind of like poetic dialogue to straightforward dialogue. And this is my approach. But it kind of adds this layer again of Kona, of kind of like this deeper meaning. So the more you watch it, maybe the more meanings you can pull from it. Those are my kind of favorite films. So a film that I watched recently that did this quite beautifully was Neptune Frost. Not sure, has anyone seen that? Okay, I really recommend it. It's about, speaking of technology, it's about, it's a mineral that gets mined for technology. It's like a rare earth mineral. And it's coltan miners in Africa who kind of go through this revolution of sorts for their freedom. It's really beautifully told, and about cycles of life and death, dreams, kind of as communication, as portals. So anyway, I like that kind, and that's the kind I make. This one. Oh, here, if it loads, is I also really enjoy speculative fiction. I think my science nerd side kind of comes out in this film. So I'll play it for you, and then I'll talk a little bit about it. So this film I made in the Bay Area. It's kind of an ongoing project from 2018 onwards. How do I get it to skip? Hold on. And this one is looking at kind of early Earth cycles. So cyanobacteria were the first organisms on Earth to create oxygen, and thus all oxygen-dependent life forms on the planet, including us in that lineage. It's like the slime, the vale vale that's kind of like referred to in our Kumulipo chant. And I was really interested because I also worked as a lab tech in Kona at Ōtek, converting algae to biodiesel in like 2007. And that was just super interesting to me. It was like a Willy Wonka type lab of like algae that we're growing in tubes and then raceway ponds. And it was for biofuel. And it's still something that is being developed. It just hasn't been like kind of sized up yet. I think it's more about the infrastructure of like, can our gas stations accommodate like biofuel tanks? Like I think you'd have to add that on. Just like with the electric cars, you have to have charging stations now. Similarly with the biofuel, it's just like we need the infrastructure to accommodate these things. But it was incredible to see like tiny Erlenmeyer flasks of this algae given water and nutrients, and 2 weeks and us kind of transferring them to bigger and bigger kind of holdings, like you were able to create raceway ponds of this algae from that small flask. So it's just with ocean water. So it's very sustainable, I think. And anyway, inspired by that experience, I created a science fiction piece, a speculative fiction piece, thinking of us in the near future, kind of in these, as we're seeing more eutrophication of cyanobacteria just growing in lakes and estuaries because of all of the nitrogen and all of the kind of pollutants, but also the things that are going into our watersheds. This is just happening around the world. And so I was like, what would it be like if we like siphon that off and it became something, it became like this mutualism. So it was beneficial. Maybe the future is like the air isn't so good to breathe. So we're breathing the oxygen from these organisms, or we're growing them for food. Like spirulina is a cyanobacteria. Anyway, it was a fun speculative piece. Again, it brought together many creatives. And it was kind of, I think, a fun example of thinking of climate fiction, of ways that we can move into the future that are playful, that are somewhat hopeful. Maybe they're a little apocalyptic in concepts, but how are ways that we can think through these changes, like how we can live among the earth and as we are changing, as it is changing. So that'll be a prompt to all of you in the future. So this was also shown as a single channel video. It also screened at film festivals, but here I created these bioreactors, these like mini photobioreactors that were growing different strains of cyanobacteria that audience members or visitors could come and like look at it under the microscope. This lower picture, I just realized, is actually from Leonardo's 50th anniversary exhibition. So that's a cool throwback. I think it was 2019, I want to say. Or maybe before that, 2018. Shamshire would know. But yeah, that was one of my first collaborations with Leonardo, was getting to show this work in their exhibition at Fort Mason in San Francisco. Yeah, so I like to think of video as something that can live in many different forms. So it can be a film that screens in a theater. It can be a video installation that is accompanied by sculptural pieces. It could be a multi-channel piece. It can be immersive. So video is moving image is a really fun form. It could be projected that I think would be cool to play with. I'm going to skip ahead to, where is it? Sorry, you guys. Oh my goodness. Here, really quick. Just because there were some bioplastics in the film, and I wasn't sure if I'd get to this, but part of my practice was making bioplastics at one time, which is another cool way, I think, to think about material creation and consumption. So I created a website as part of the ZCAM Academy Solitude web residency that has all of these protocols for making bioplastics. If you're interested, I'm happy to share. I used to teach workshops of it and just didn't think of it for this lab, and it's pretty like science. It's like DIY science. But yeah, if we can pull together these ingredients, we could do them. Or you could do them on your own, in your kitchen, literally. It's fun. But for this type of bioplastic, it's using agar-agar, which is a type of seaweed with water and glycerol. And like literally that's it. And you just have
Welcome back, Tiare. Just a note that you're muted currently on the Zoom call. You can come off mute, and also when you share screen, just check the box at the bottom to share the audio as well. I think that we might have been missing that before.
Okay, good.
I'm hearing
Might
you.
cut, might cut you. You can see my screen.
Also, yes.
Okay, great. So this practice was kind of thinking of how you can be in a different relationship with the materials that you interact with. So our clothing was one of the first things I made, I would say, even if it was like from thrift shop kind, and then I cut them up and then I redesigned it. Like it's still like you have a relationship with what you're wearing. So I was thinking through like, how can we have a new kind of relationship to our materials and the time that it takes to create what we wear. So I was also thinking, yeah, this is just, again, not practical clothing. I think this is just like my ass is out in this picture, but fun to think about. It's like speculative. And also what if we're like textiles were growing? Again, just kind of really conceptual. And then sculptural forms as well that kind of mimic, like to me, this kind of mimics like pahoehoe, which is like lava, or like a smoky cloud, like waves in the ocean. So I think for this project, I also kind of had sculptural objects next to video, next to websites. So yeah, just wanted to share that little bit. And I'll go back to, I think I'll jump into this one. So in addition to kind of sculptural works, I also do augmented reality sculptures. So this series of work is called Kai-Hai, which means ocean in both Olelo Hawaii and Mandarin. So it's a collaboration between myself and Chinese artist Chin Chin Yi. And we've primarily collaborated like this whole time across an ocean. We started like at the onset of the pandemic. We were both missing home. I was living in the Bay Area at the time. She was living in LA, but it's from Wenzhou in China. And both had like really high restrictions on travel. So we're like, how do we connect home during this time? And our solution was to create these trans-Pacific portals through these augmented reality sculptures that you could pull up on your phone or a tablet. And this first one we made is called Nakili, who's really inspired by Hina Upapalakoa, who's a goddess of coral reefs in the ocean. And I know it's a different story, but for us, she's the one who gave Maui the fish hook to fish out the islands. But I'd never seen her visualized. So we're like, what would that look like if like Hina Upapalakoa was like a goddess? So this is fun. So it kind of like took over in its premiere, it took over the beaches of Waikiki, which is like heavily touristed. And to me is always like a desecrated place in Hawaii, and I never go over there. But I was like, how can we reclaim this shoreline? And so it's with like stories of Kanaka and ancestry. So to me, this was a really cool way to kind of make this monumental size sculpture with no one's permission and just taking over the space. So like my dream is to just have plenty kind of these all over Waikiki by different Kanaka artists. We also made a face filter that's really fun with the same kind of set of 3D models. And again, kind of drawing from the Kumulipo. This is the ko'a is where all Kanaka are descended from. So this is kind of what it looks like. It's on IG. It's on Chin Chin's IG. I forgot to put up like a QR code for that, but yeah, it's really fun if you guys want to try them at home. And then we also created this series for Grow Magazine, which is genetic bio org called Ginkgo or Grow. It's like a in a magazine that came out, and they asked us to create these like still renders to accompany this article written by the scholars Keolu Fox and Cliff Kapono. And they were really writing about kind of like the military occupation of Hawaii, because we are 30% militarized. And on the left hand, you can see behind this abstract art piece is Kapukaki. This is Red Hill. So this is where I was talking about where the giant fuel tanks are stored. So it's on that pu'u, it's on this hill right there. And then Pearl Harbor, Pu'uloa is right behind. So it looks beautiful, yeah, but like get all kind pollution over there. It's like a super fun site, quite literally. And back in the day, there was over 20 local fish ponds, and it was the breadbasket of Hawaii, and it's where a lot of our fish and shellfish and our food came from over there, and now it's like toxic AF. But the dream is kind of like thinking about remediation and how do we remediate the soils and water. So Cliff and Keolu were writing about this in their article, and they were like, oh, maybe the first canoe microbes could be genetically modified to clean petroleum from the water. And we're like, yeah, that's cool. And then we tried to make that image with the art. So again, like thinking about the collaborations, right, between artists, chemists, you can really create something beautiful, and you can create a whole story, and you can think about futurity. And it's not all like everything's dead. Like how do we find life in these places? And then on the right side is Lo'i Kalo. So we also have a creation story that goes back to Haloa. So that's the root of the kalo plant. And this is in He'eia and Kaneohe on Oahu, the island I'm from. Well, these are both the island I'm from. But kind of envisioning also like the systems of water. We kind of wanted to make a futuristic vibe, but thinking about how water moves through an ahupua'a system from Kuahivi, that's mountaintops, to the ocean, and then through these low ecolo systems. And really, as aquaculture, as soil scientists, we understood that like we could just use the natural gravity and flow of water to kind of take care of everything: irrigation, food. Our fish ponds, for instance, were put together with pohaku. Oh, here's a rock connection that were so small that the gaps between them were so small that like the little fishes would come inside, and then they could grow big, and then they couldn't get out. And then we could catch the big fish real easily right there in the fish ponds. But then it would protect from like overfishing. So let the fish continue to like get big in the ocean too. So it was a really smart way of like conservation that was developed like 1,000 years ago. So thinking about that kind of things. I'm gonna show one more video. I think, okay, I'm in charge of the lights now. And this is kind of the most recent iteration of Kai-Hai called Plastia, that's thinking about, I like to do speculative fiction. This one's thinking about goddesses that maybe haven't been documented yet and are coming from contemporary issues. So what would like a goddess of remediation of the ocean of microplastics look like? Because that's a big problem, is like the Great Pacific Garbage Patch of all of the plastics just floating around like 200 million miles or kilometers or something like that in the Pacific, where we all, throughout Moana Nui Akea. So this project is really thinking about, what would that goddess look like of remediation? And it's inspired by Haumea too, who is kind of reborn through all of her offspring and who can give birth from all different parts of her body, so from the top of her head, from her shoulders, elbows, heels. So thinking about that lineage of progeny of being reborn each time. Oh yeah, this one is already loaded. Okay, I'm just gonna play the whole thing. Actually, that's good. You guys get it, man. So that was really pretty. I love that piece because it is another collaboration. Like I mentioned, the Chin Chin. And she's really like a wizard of this kind of animation. She does all of the 3D, the technology, the AR, and we discuss obviously the design together, the stories, and we go through kind of like different iterations and prototypes. But like, if it wasn't for her, could never exist. So so the video was first shown at the Mandeville Art Gallery in San Diego as this cool like wrap around the facade of the building, which is awesome. Looks cooler when it's a video, but just get these ones. And then we did this other piece that was AR, that we were kind of thinking about like futuristic canoes, like waka, and what would they look like if made out of like biopolymers, and what does the wind vortex look like visualized. And it was part of like this longer, it went with like this kind of like essay on thinking about how to like future oceans and sustainability, and kind of like what could be incorporated on a waka and what stories could be told. So yeah, I think along with the visual piece, you can always have like a written essay, or like I always have like long writing and research that goes with my work that isn't always visible. But this was a fun kind of AR piece that, again, thinking about trans-Pacific portals and what connects us all is like our navigational abilities and knowledge, our ike, on navigating across Moana. So that's a cool one. And then finally, I wanted to share this more recent piece that I actually had a producer role in. So in this one, I wasn't responsible for the story. I was a producer. And this is a short, it lives as 3 different things. So it's a short film, it's a performance piece with dance, like an immersive cinema piece, and then it's also an installation. So Kaihalia means like the sea, like a sea of memory, or memory. Halia is like to recall fondly. And this was really inspired by my friend Angelique's great-grandmother, who was an opihi picker on Maui and had passed picking opihi. And this actually sent, because of her great-grandmother's death, her grandfather, Tutu Hattie's son, was really traumatized from it and didn't have that great of a relationship with the ocean after that, and decided to move the whole family to California. So Angelique grew up in diaspora in California, and so has been returning back to Hawaii and kind of like retracing her like really trying to heal from this generational trauma of the grandma passing. And it was really cool because actually in the gallery in Auckland, the first day I was here, there was the painting that was beautiful with like this black sand that speaks about the artist's grandmother, who also passed in a similar way. And that was her way of kind of like transforming from that, that pain of losing someone, but realizing maybe they were reclaimed too. Maybe like that was, like, so these journeys of healing that are similar through kind of like this creation of art across the ocean. So I'm going to show these 2. Oh yeah, and then I just wanted to note like our whole kind of like the thematic theme that we wanted to explore is also kind of like how to think about memory, and again, that nonlinear time as existing through the body. So our memories of kupuna are lived within us. They're also within Aina, and how we connect to that, maybe through movement. I don't know how to get this green thing gone, but you guys kind of, yeah. So movement as a form of embodied knowledge. So this was cool because it brought together two sisters, Angie and her sister, who's a choreographer, and their mom was also in the piece. It's a really, really beautiful piece. So I'm going to show the installation version and then kind of the performance version. Here we go. So this one, we used a touch designer to create interactive movement over projection.
Really immerse yourself. I'm gonna try to record for like 2 minutes. Okay. Yeah, just so I can get coverage. Yeah. Now, yeah.
So yeah, this was, I love this. We premiered this recently in September. And we filmed in Maui right before the fires, which was devastating. As my kupuna is also from there. But I think it's a fitting piece to think about healing, especially the traumas of Aina and Vai, and how that connects to us. So the Lahaina fires were really because of all the water that has been diverted from there. It is a wetlands. So thinking about restoration of Vai and how all of these things connect, and how, telling these stories of Vai really can be powerful because they can call for the resurrection of water, moku'ula, mokuhinia. And if we trace ancestral threads and we see why we do what we do, we're like, oh, that makes sense. This is why. So anyway, this piece is really cool, and I want to show it to you guys because it plays with like interaction, projection onto fabric. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's really fun. Projection mapping. So we set up like these fabrics were mapped. There was also this mapping of this like stocking that you see in the corner there. I don't think we show it again, but here, this was mapped using like Mad Mapper or something. And there's also references to Po and kind of rebirth, death and rebirth in this. And then the interactive component, which was here. This again was using Touch Designer over video that we already had shot, but creating this additional layer of interaction. So yeah, this is a node-based program.
I'm gonna try recording.
I could tell you guys where to find it. I'm not, again, we worked with someone who created the kind of like nodes to make it, but another collaborative vibe. Okay. And then the last video I'll show is as a immersive performance, which is the same project as a 3-channel video with dance, activated with dance. Yeah, so that one we performed in October. Yeah, super recent. So again, the way that video can expand to these other types of formats. And I don't know, that was kind of one of the most exciting projects that I've worked on, just because you see the film coming to life. So all the dancers were also in the film that's being projected. It's the sister and the mom, and they even are doing choreography that you see in the film. So it's just so layered and beautiful. And that was really a delight to share and this is going to be touring throughout the next year. So if you guys know any places in Aotearoa that wants to host, or like we like to work in like pre-shows that include artists from wherever region we're showing, whatever vahi. So like in LA, we're gonna try and find people like who are native to those lands to do an opening performance or song or spoken poem or something like that. So yeah, we would love to bring this here, just saying. But I think okay, lastly, just to get you guys excited again. So this is just I mentioned doing the arts incubator in Ukraine, and this is what this current program grew out of. So this is the exhibition that was shown at the end of my exchange, and we just had a month to kind of turn this around real quick. Kind of similarly had a week of workshops, and then people had 2 weeks. So less time than you guys have to create artworks, and they created beautiful, beautiful works. And it was also about like Hawaii, about rivers, ocean, because the Dnipro River runs through Kiev. So I was like, what is your relationship to that river? Or what do you see existing there in the future? So they made these really beautiful projects. Someone made like tote bags that like they gifted me one. They're so cool, these bathing suits, because it's kind of like their beach. They don't have beach like us. It's like the river. This like incubator of algae. I guess I could show a quick video, although like obviously we're doing very different kind stuff during our workshop. Yeah, let me just show you real quick. It's kind of cringe, but I'll show you the video that came out of this. And then I think I'm Pao, so. Good place.
From Oakland, California, and originally from Oahu, Hawaii. I'm the American Arts Incubator artist for Kiev, Ukraine, and have been working out of Izoliatia, Platform for Cultural Initiatives, over the month of March. This project has support from the U.S. Embassy in Kiev and the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. In Kiev, I led new media workshops that covered digital psychogeographic mapping, speculative design, basic 3D modeling, and 3D scanning. I asked artists to use these skills to create collaborative works through the lens of cultural identity. Over the past month, 32 artists came up with incredible speculative designs for architectures, technologies, and objects in Ukraine. Joining together through similar visions and themes, these artists created 5 collaborative groups to create 5 unique projects.
Just gonna jump ahead to the exhibition because that's what's most exciting to me. There we go.
These works culminated in an exhibition that opened on March 29, 2018 at Isoleatia.
Oh yeah. So not saying you guys have to do that kind of stuff specifically. Obviously it's open to whatever you want to make, and we'll talk about that throughout the week, but just it's going to be cool to make stuff. And that was kind of an example of what's been made in the past. Obviously very different geographical context, cultural context. But like it's fun. Like we're here to have fun. We're here to like connect with each other, connect with the Aina, the Moana. And whatever is meaningful for you, it's led by you guys. I'm here to offer prompts. So super excited. I think so. Yeah, so starting tomorrow, we are meeting in this beautiful workshop that's like indoor-outdoor vibes on the other side, the annex of Otago Museum, like across the yard. It's nice. I think we're gonna we're gonna have like coffees or something like at the cafe you can get here, TBD, but I think we're covering it. And then let me pull up the schedule real quick. Just for those of you who are here, because you're here while we're here. Schedule. Yeah, right here. Okay, so this is what the week looks like. And so you already made it past day 0. We're almost through the artist talk, but tomorrow is kind of like one of the longer days just to kind of get all the groundwork stuff. It might not even go that long, but we're gonna start at 10. Monday is an off day. And then Tuesday through Friday is all kind of things, but basically kind of like talking about different different types of installations, possibilities, technical approaches. I'm gonna have you guys write throughout this thing, so hopefully you're okay with that. But just really like freestyle, like again thinking about Pilina or connection to Moana, to like what are vahi that like you feel connection with. And then if you have means to capture video and sound, I would suggest bringing that on the 14th when we are led by Madison, who works at the Orokonui Eco Sanctuary. So we're gonna hear and see all kind of birds and creatures. And then I think we're gonna visit Moana because it's kind of where the estuary meets the ocean. And we will cover lunch at the Eco Sanctuary that day. And then finally, and then the next day we might go through some rushes, which are just like whatever raw stuff you filmed if you want to share it. And then the final day we'll have like that's when kind of you decide to team up, and we'll have this farewell dinner. But so it's gonna be cool. And to bring it all back, this is one of the waters that I come from in Palolo Valley. I think one of the first questions I'll be asking you guys to think about and share tomorrow is like what waters you come from. So this is one of the waters. This is in the back of Palolo Valley. It's like a triple waterfall that leads to a swamp that was once a volcanic crater. That's me. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, the creative energy and imagination is just awesome. It's it's just really exciting to sort of see that and sort of think about the opportunity to have that further sort of developed over the next week here with the wild farm. So, we've got time for some put it all questions and that. There's also a couple of tea up here. It seems it's small enough whānau today, a small enough group. We can perhaps have a cup of tea and help themselves with a cup of tea and if you've got any questions and put it all, we can just talk a bit more freely and loosely rather than sort of unless someone's got any immediate questions. No? Well, on that note, let's go and have a cup of tea, but just again to sort of thank you very much, Tiare. We'll cover for
Okay, we're gonna have tea, so have a virtual tea. I think we're POW in terms of the virtual part.
All right. Thanks so much, Tiare. That was excellent. And thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you to Shamshir and Leonardo. Do you guys want to say bye? Thank you. He can only see me, but
Yeah.
he feels you guys.
Sorry not to see you all in the coming days. All right.
Okay, we'll be in touch. Mahalo.